Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to the first episode of the Professor's Picks here in 2024. Introducing, of course, the professor himself, Ken Golden. What's happening, Ken?
Hey, how are you?
Doing good. Doing good. It's
Good.
January, ready to get the year off with a bang.
Yeah, 2023 was a good year, and it lasted. December usually slow, but December was busy. So
Really?
let's see,
That's
yeah,
good.
hopefully things will just pick up. Um, this is going to be a very unusual professor's picks. Got a lot of stuff. Some of the stuff is pretty off the wall. So I think maybe we'll get the normal stuff out of the way. So, all right, you ready to go?
Yep, yep.
All right, the first thing, and I don't think I mentioned this in the last one. So if I did, apologies, but we're taking pre-orders for Porcupine Tree Closure Continuation Live, the 2 CD, 2 Blu-ray Deluxe Edition, and the 4 LP edition. So this is really kind of weird. This came out a couple of months ago, I guess it was, and the label decided that Music for Nations decided that they would not put this into general distribution. It would only be direct to consumer. And then they decided, well, we'll put the Blu-ray, the DVD Blu-ray into general distribution, which we had. If you wanted this 2 CD, 2 Blu-ray, or 4 LP set, you had to basically go to the Porcupine Tree website. Now they've said, okay, February, I think it's February 24th, I think is the date. We're going to put this into general distribution, except we're not going to do it for the United States. So it's crazy. So unless that changes, I have to import these from Europe. So, but our prices are pretty competitive, and we got it. We should have it.
If you want it, Ken will have it.
Yeah, and probably somebody's probably asking me about the Camel box. I heard rumors that they're gonna press it again, but I haven't gotten anything concrete about that. So
You sold out of every one that you had, right?
I had 50, and the distributor was given an allocation of like 120 from Universal. I took 50. I think Steve took 50 or 40, something like that. And I was told you can't have any more. That's it. I could have sold another 50. It was, so see what happens. See what happens. I guess they just didn't realize the demand for that thing.
Yeah, I mean, shit,
Oh, since it's on my mind, and I'll forget once we get into this. People were asking me last week about Squeaky Feet. I ran out of Squeaky Feet. The band was supposed to send me a restock, except they ran out. So, yep, great record, great record. And they are repressing, and I get the sense that maybe next week I might have it. So it'll pop up back on the site. So doing very well. All right, regular, normal CDs. Couple of reissues. The Chick Corea Electric Band and Chick Corea Electric Band Light Years. There are other titles, other Electric Band titles, but they're all in back order. So I happen to have these in stock. So when I get the other ones, they'll pop up.
And these are just straight reissues, no.
Yeah, you know what? I got one. I got them right here. Actually, didn't put them on the site yet. I have to say they're very unexciting looking. All expense spared, So they're just like these wallets, and I don't think there's anything extra. Maybe maybe they've been out of print for years or something. I don't know.
That's possible. Yeah, that's possible.
So, yeah. We did really well with that double live thing. And so one of my customers said, "Are you going to be getting in the reissues?" Sure, why not? So, yeah. Next one is Evergray, From Dark Discoveries to Heartless Portraits. It's basically like a career overview.
Yeah,
It's kind of like I don't want to say greatest hits, but a selection of material, and it has a lot of unreleased stuff on it as well. It's demos, what have you.
Because of course it wouldn't be January in a new year without a new release from Evergrey, because they
Oh
seem to
yeah,
they
right.
do that every year.
Yeah. So, all right, next one. This is the original of this is incredibly rare. It's called Uganda. It's from Akira Ishikawa and the Count Buffaloes. So he is a percussionist, Japanese percussionist, and the Count Buffaloes. Yeah, they have a ton of albums. Very verbal, very verbal. So the Count Buffaloes and Akira Ishikawa, they have tons and tons of albums, and very percussion heavy. But it's what's really cool is Kimio Mizutani's playing guitar in this thing, and he's just like going crazy playing wah-wah guitar. It's a full band, and original copies of this album were like in the thousands. And but this was done from master tapes, and it's a pretty cool album. So next thing we got here, again, another one where I say all expenses spared. You got to see the packaging on this thing. Paradise Lost, Icon 30. It's the 30th anniversary of Icon, and the band went back and re-recorded the entire album.
Wow.
And it comes in like a CD wallet.
Traditionalists will hate that. People who've never heard the album will, of course, check.
Yeah. So the next one, I don't know what this is, man. Other than I think they named the band after my grandmother's television set. Sylvania, Purgatorium. I know it's symphonic, but I can't tell you. I can't tell you where they're from. I got the bio on it was negligible, so I got a small quantity of them. And power metal guys probably say, "Oh yeah, Sylvania, I know those guys," and they'll jump in on it. So that's the normal stuff. Now we get to like the really kind of weird stuff. So there is a company in Korea called Beatball Records. They're a label and a distributor for other labels. And they do CDs and they do vinyl. And I've been trying to deal with them for a number of years. And I finally think, like, that Architecture, remember that band? That band is distributed by Beatball, that release, that label. So merry-go-round. So anyway, go ahead. You want me to keep going? I'll keep going. And so what we got here is a lot of vinyl and some key CDs. So the first thing we have that came in from this shipment is from Gil Akyung and a bunch of other guys whose names I'll absolutely murder. And it's called Spirit Junction, Korean Folk Music Meets Jazz. And it's 2 sidelong improvised pieces for daegyum and bongos and samul and saxophone. So daegyum is a flute that's used in Korean folk music, and samul is a Korean percussion instrument. So this is like one of these audiophile workout albums. I mean, it really, pushes your system. Just 2 sidelong pieces, and and they got Kevin Gray to cut this from the master tapes. People are interested in this thing, but Kevin Gray is considered to basically be the preeminent mastering engineer in the world these days, particularly for cutting vinyl. So if you get Kevin Gray, he's going to be extracting the most he possibly can out of the tapes, and it's going to generally sound very good. So next one. This is a category we don't really talk much about on Prog Seat, but it's kind of interesting, and maybe someday we could do a show about this. This is a Japanese jazz recording from Toshiyuki Miyama and the New Herd, which is his band. It's called Sushi no Ne, which is translated Sound of the Earth. Again, cut from the first generation tapes by Kevin Gray. This is basically big band electric jazz that crosses over into jazz rock. It's just got this incredible energy, really cool wah-wah guitar. It's like an audiophile killer. And again, it's one of these albums where the original is like, you can't afford it. It's just, 4 figures. And so They did a really, really nice job. These reissues, that's the other thing I should mention. They're gorgeous. The tip-on sleeves, they're really, really nice liner notes. Next one. This is an unusual one. This is Steve Marcus, the sax player, with Jiro Inagaki and Soul Media. His band Soul Media. It's called Something. Again, cut by Kevin Gray from the master tapes. And here's where it's weird. This is considered to be the first digitally recorded album. It was recorded in the early 70s on like an early prototype system. It's really like an electric jazz rock album with the great Masahiko Sato on piano, Ryo Kawasaki on guitar. They're part of Inagaki's band, and then you got the two sax players battling it out. They do Something, the Beatles tune, long extended version of it, and there's an unreleased version of it on here as a bonus track. Next one. Again, these are vinyl. I'll let you know when we get to the CDs. So this is by Jorge Lopez Ruiz. It's called El Grito, and this is from Argentina. And Kevin Gray cut this from materials that were supplied to him by Ruiz's son, I believe. So Jorge Lopez Ruiz is a great Argentinian bass player, and he was also a composer. And he started out working in, doing hard bop jazz. And then eventually he went electric, and he did some really cool, like modal stuff. And then electric jazz. And then ultimately he was doing like funky fusion kind of stuff towards the end of his career. And all of this stuff is really kind of eclectic. This was a concept album, a big band concept album he did in 1967. The whole theme of it was very political, and it was banned by the Argentinian government. And I'd say about 6-7 years ago, I had no idea what this thing was. And one of the jazz dealers I know offered me like this beat to shit copy for like $300. And I was like, no, thank you. And then it happened that there was this like $5 CD that I used to sell by the Jorge Lopez Ruiz 5, which is a quintet, and it was like an electric jazz thing, and it was great. So anyway, this came out, and I bought it, played it. It sounds great. It's got a kind of an avant-garde quality to it. It's not just a straight big band, like it's not a square album. It's pretty adventurous. Now we get into the really cool shit. I mean, it's all cool shit, but now we're getting into the more prog. Now we're getting to prog. So all that's out of the way. So now we're in home territory. Snakes Alive. Have you heard this? Because this came out on CD. Okay, so Snakes Alive was reissued a number of years ago in Japan on CD. So there's a story about 3 albums we're going to talk about. Snakes Alive is a band, Steps is another band, and Aragorn is another band. So Snakes Alive is the one that came out in the middle of the 3. All 3 of these bands were led by the bass player Michael Vidal. So these are Australian bands, and there's some crossover from the different iterations. They would change their name, and the musical style would change. And there's some similarity in the musicians, but it's not like the same guys on every album. It's changed. So I'm starting with the middle. This album was released in 1975. They only pressed 50 copies with no cover art. And now they gave it a beautiful cover. Yeah. They pressed double vinyl. The CD that came out some years ago, kind of ugly artwork. This is really cool. It's gatefold. And it's just really phenomenal guitar-driven jazz rock, prog rock. There's some vocals, there's some sax, there's a lot of organ, but the focus always comes back to the guitar. And this thing just kills. And it's just a white hot album. And Pete, if you heard it, I swear you'd go out and buy that damn turntable I want you to buy. I might have to gift you one. I don't know. I'm gonna have to start going to thrift stores and finding an old beat up one, an old dual. I'll steal Steve Feigenbaum's old dual turntable. So anyway, this is great. So now jumping ahead to the next iteration, the band became evolved into Steps. This was never released. This is called Waltz for Tiger Joe. So it's basically a later iteration, incarnation of Snakes Alive. And the music took a turn. It has a really strong affinity for Canterbury. It sounds a lot like National Health and Gilgamesh. There's a vocalist whose name is Bernie Morgan. Well, it turns out Bernie Morgan is a woman, and Bernie basically does like wordless vocals, kind of like the Northettes, and where Amanda Parsons did, on the first National Health album. And she also plays congas and percussion. It's fantastic. This I have on vinyl, and I also have this. I have it on black and colored vinyl, and this I have on CD. And the CD has extra tracks. And you like that Canterbury sound? That it's really kind of like more like a jazz rock album. I think it's fantastic. And then the last of those three is something totally different. This is the first band that Michael Vidalis had. They were called Aragorn, and the name of the album is The Sweet. And they would evolve into Snakes Alive. I know the guitar player also crossed over into Snakes Alive. It's a completely different sound. Basically it's an unreleased album from 1973, and it's flute-driven prog with sort of a medieval folk elements. It sounds a lot like Jethro Tull meets Griffin. It's really good. It's really, really good. So
That cover art.
Isn't that cool? Yeah, I mean, so basically what this guy, he had, they approached him about Snakes Alive, and then and I guess he said, hey, what about this band? Hey, what about this band? And it's all three albums, very good quality, each one very different from one another. So Aragorn is the other one I have on CD, and it only came on colored vinyl. So the two CDs I have from this Korean shipment is the Steps album and the Aragorn. Next thing on vinyl, Natura, Magic Key. 1972 sort of proto-prog, prog psych album from Iceland. How many prog bands do you know from Iceland? There aren't too many. There's some, but there aren't too many. So this was affiliated with a band called Trubro, and there's a female singer. She was American, actually. Her name was Sandy Owens, and she was born in the Midwest. And hey, Marlon, she was born in the Midwest. And there's a lot of organ and some really cool guitar leads. It was actually recorded in London, and the whole thing has like this sort of British feel. It fits. There's nothing you would jump out at you and say, "Wow, this sounds like it was from Iceland." Next thing we got from Italy. This has never been reissued. La Famiglia degli Ortega, self-titled, rare Italian progressive folk from 1973. It was sort of funny. The band was formed, the name, by two guys from Venezuela, and they left the band before the album was released. It's kind of maybe a little bit like St. Just. I don't know if you remember St. Just. Next one that some people revere, and they think it's one of the greatest British prog albums of all time, Castrol. I know Esoteric did a reissue. Came out in 1975, British symphonic prog. Lots of Mellotron on this album, and if you're a Mellotron freak, you'd like this one. It's kind of like a mix of like prog and like AOR. Okay. So it's got a little bit of like a pop element to it, but it's more up tempo than like their contemporaries that like on Neon or Vertigo. And the way I described it is almost like a proggier version of like the Alan Parsons Project or the Moody Blues, something like that. And definitely has a place in your collection. And Kevin Gray once again did a nice job cutting it. And the last things we have here are three albums from French band Vortex. We got self-titled. We have Les Cycles de Thanatos. And then we have the complete recordings box set. So Vortex was a French jazz rock band. They have a very dark sound, and they always kind of get lumped in with Magma. But they have that sort of Zool element, but you don't get the chanting or any of that stuff. I mean, it's sort of just very, very dark. They probably owe more to like Soft Machine, Universe Zero, maybe like Bela Bartok and Stravinsky than they do Magma. But there are undercurrents of that Magma style. No guitar in the band, lots of electric piano, flute, sax. The second album, they went from a quintet to an octet, and the music's just very intense, really long tracks, and it's some of the greatest French prog from the 70s. There was a CD reissue you guys could go hunting for. I don't think it's in print anymore, but they did a beautiful job on it. And the last thing is I want people to see this thing. This is the box set. It's 3 albums, and it's really beautiful, like a slipcase.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's actually got a third album, and the third album is all kinds of rare and unreleased stuff. They only made 250 sets, and the distributor basically said last copies. So I grabbed, and it's expensive. I grabbed like 5 of them, and everything's taken from the original master tapes. It's really cool shit. It's a weird week, right?
Yeah, a lot of really obscure stuff, but I think people like obscure, right? So
people like obscure, and next week I think things will be back to normal. We'll have a mix of cheap shit. I have a shipment coming from the UK. We'll have some more gray area stuff. I know we have the new Palace coming in. That's in transit.
oh
A lot
wow,
of people ask me for that.
it's been a while for them, yeah.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of stuff coming in. So next week will sort of be back to normal. But all this, all this stuff has to get sold. We're gonna make room.
That's right. That's right. So in order for Ken to make room, guess what has to happen?
That's right.
Watching have to
buy a lot, buy often.
There you go.
That's the key, man. That's how it works.
So as always, I think more applicable for this episode than any other, we'll make sure to get the list of all of these down below because we got some stuff that I'm sure is going to be hard to remember the names of and whatnot. So we'll put them down in the comments below. It'll be pinned at the top, so you'll be able to easily grab that. And lasercd.com is the link. So
my apologies for making this kind of a much longer episode than I thought. It's just all of these things kind of need explanation.
Yeah. So otherwise, people have no clue, right?
They would have no idea what any of this stuff is. It was. I said it was going to be a weird week.
So. Hopefully, you got enough description to put up on the website so people.
Oh yeah. Everything's up. So everything's up there and everything's described. So
cool. All right. And we hope Jim is feeling better. Jim's a little under the weather this week, so
yes. So Ken's doing double duty.
There you go. That's Ken's doing it all. He's
if you get any
picking, packing, shipping, the whole 9 yards, right?
If you get a box that looks a little odd, you'll know it was my fault.
But it will get there very quickly in time.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that. Cool. There you have it, everybody. Like I said, all the info will be down in the comments below. And visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. We got coming up this weekend, ranking the albums on Sunday. As always, Simon Bray from the UK Connection will be joining me. We're going to rank the pretty short but very cool catalog of the Johnny Van Zant Band, of course, from the legendary Leonard Skinner. So that's happening Sunday morning. Till then, have a good one for Ken Golden. I'm Pete Pardo. Enjoy your weekend. If you're here on the East Coast here in the States, we're going to have some wet and messy weather this weekend. So everybody be safe, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.